So, Representative Raymond, what do you think are some of Idaho's biggest needs right now?
Well, we are in a revenue deficit right now, and so our budget constraints are pretty tight, and people are pretty concerned, about how that's going to look as time goes on. And so I think right now as much as anything, we need patience to work through these challenges and see how they play out in the next 60 to 90 days and beyond. And if you don't mind me expanding on that budget issue, I can do that now or whenever you'd like. But
yeah, of course. If you want to go ahead and expand on that, that's perfect.
Okay. In the last 5 years, the state of Idaho has offered many revenue tax relief. We've offered tax relief for the last 5 years. And last year alone, we offered about $453 million in tax relief. So we've been headed down a really good path for saving money for the citizens of the state of Idaho. We left town the end of last March, first part of April, knowing that we had done good work as a policy group. And then, unbeknownst to us, the President of the United States came along with another tax policy, which he really wanted to get signed by the 4th of July of last summer and was successful. And we did not realize until after that how that was going to impact the citizens of the state of Idaho. So in the past, for as long as I can remember, Idaho tax law has run pretty linear to the IRS tax code. And we've conformed every year to the federal tax code. So whatever tax incentives are given on the federal level, we've offered them on the state level as well. Well, there were 37 or 38, 39, something like that, tax incentives in the one big beautiful bill that we didn't see coming. And I'll just give you some examples. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Some pretty aggressive tax breaks to the elderly. Those kinds of things were offered, and good things, all good things. One of the things that's the big issue, the big budget issue, is a tax credit on research and exploration. We used to call it research and development, but now it's research and exploration. So, for example, if you've got a company that's doing a lot of research and it has expenses, we've allowed that in the past, but we've done a depreciation schedule over 5 years, so they get a 20% credit this year and 20% next year and so on. Well, the big beautiful bill offers 100% tax credit immediately, and in fact, it's retroactive to 2022. So today, as we're speaking, we have record sales tax receipts. We have record personal income tax receipts, but our corporate income tax receipts are lagging way behind because businesses in the state of Idaho are assuming that Idaho will conform with IRS tax code, and so they're not submitting their taxes on research and exploration and development. And so we're lagging way behind, and that's causing some consternation. Because the economy in the state of Idaho is doing so well, and it is doing well, we know that we will catch up at some point, but we just don't know how quickly that'll happen if we conform to the IRS tax code. And that hasn't been determined yet. The Revenue Taxation Committee has not met to decide that yet, but we assume, meaning we collectively in the building assume that we probably will conform. So it's going to be a budget crunch.
Yeah. So you're saying
and
that
we need people just.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh,
no, I was just going to say we just need people to be patient and understanding as we work through the process.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that the biggest needs Idaho is facing right now is the budget deficit, as well as aligning Idaho tax codes to align with the big beautiful bill, right?
Yeah, I think that's the main thing that we're facing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Other things will follow.
And
people are concerned that we maintain at least status quo on, safety issues, make sure that law enforcement is funded properly, healthcare, make sure that's funded properly, transportation, make sure our infrastructure is funded properly. Those are the things that people are concerned about right now.
Yeah, definitely. And so with these main issues that Idaho is facing, or these main needs, what do you think are some of the biggest obstacles stopping the legislature from being able to address those needs?
Well, I think the biggest obstacle right now is the unknown. Where are we actually? We have not yet adopted a revenue number. We don't know yet what we're anticipating for revenues coming in for fiscal year, 26, 20, the remainder of 26, 27, and 28. So our forecasters met yesterday and the day before, and they will adopt a revenue number, which is the beginning point for the budgeting process. And once we get that number, then we can move forward and see where cuts are going to have to be made. We know that budgets are going to be status quo, and in some cases, in fact, many cases less. The governor's already suggested 3% holdback, and it may move to 4%. He's already indicated that state employees will not get a cost of living increase this year. Those types of things, and those are hard pills to swallow. Those are difficult decisions to make. So we're not, as a state, we're not broke. We've got money in rainy day accounts. We're comfortable that way, but as some have said, it's not raining, and so we don't really want to dip into those accounts yet. We just need to tighten our belt and make sure that the budgets align with the revenues that are coming in.
Yeah, of course. So I was talking with some of the House Democrats, and they say that there is a lot of revenue in Idaho that's simply being left by the government, essentially that there are a lot of taxes that they could start, that they could get a lot of revenue from, and that Idaho doesn't have a revenue problem, and that essentially these tax breaks are going to just disproportionately benefit the wealthy and not the poor. And so how would you respond to that?
Well, I would just repeat what I did a moment ago. We do have money in our rainy day accounts, and that money is there for emergency situations, for example, a recession or a depression type situation. We're not in that situation. We simply have a cash flow crunch right now, and we just need to make sure that our budgets match the cash flow that's coming in. I would hate to dip into rainy day accounts and then have a recession or something follow right behind that and not have any reserves to fall upon. So. Mm-hmm. And another thing I think we need to remember is that there is money in accounts. There's no question about that. But many of those dollars, for example, in transportation and in water infrastructure, that money's already obligated. It's not just sitting there collecting interest. It's already been obligated to projects that are started. And we need to make sure that those projects are finished. We can't just abandon them midstream. So that money is there and available, but we don't want to take that to backfill a cash flow shortage. So.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And I know that you've said that kind of the big question this session is about the budget, but is there anything specifically that you are hoping to accomplish this session?
Do you know, I've got several pieces of legislation that are pending, but they're all revenue neutral. We kind of jokingly say in this building that there's no piece of legislation that's perfect, and that proves itself as time goes on. And I have sponsored several pieces of legislation over the years that we realize now just needs a small tweak. It doesn't need major overhaul. It just needs a small tweak so that it operates more smoothly. And so I'm going to offer some tweaks to some of the legislation that I've sponsored in the past, but it's revenue neutral. So I'm not anticipating proposing anything that costs even a single dollar from general revenues in the state of Idaho. So
And
that's kind of the path I'm on.
Okay, I know a lot of those things are kind of, what's the word? Like, you can't talk about them too much until they've actually been presented, but are you able to give us any kind of broad categories that those pieces of legislation kind of fall into?
Sure. I'll give you a couple of examples. Several years ago, there's funding available for online curriculum and education, and it was at one point on a first come first served basis. So those who applied for the funding first got it, and there was no cap on it. So several years ago, we sponsored legislation to put a cap on how much each district could get to try and, for the lack of a better word, force some of those funds out to smaller rural school districts. And that worked to a point, but we're still finding that school districts who have resources, for example, if they've got someone on staff that can just click send at 12:01 a.m. when the grants become available, then it's first come first serve, and they get the first bite of the apple. We're going to suggest legislation where now these grants are applied for on a individual basis based on need. So if you truly need the funding, you can apply for it. If you truly don't need the funding, you will not get it, rather than just automatically get money because you were the first one to click send on the email.
Yeah.
So
okay, well, I am looking
That's
forward.
one example.
Yeah, I will keep an eye out then for when your bills are presented. I'm really interested to read more about them. So how would you encourage constituents to be involved this legislative session?
Well, our names, our contact information is plastered all over. My colleagues in our legislative district have got billboards and signs out asking people to reach out to us with questions or concerns. Our email addresses are very readily available. Our phone numbers are readily available. Please just call, write, text. We try to have town hall meetings during the session where our folks can tune in by Zoom and listen to us give brief reports on what's happened the last 2 or 3 weeks. Please join them. If you call and we don't answer, leave a message. If you text, don't expect a immediate response because we don't have staff. We are simply trying to manage all of this on our own, and all three of us are either committee chairman or vice chairman, and we have a very, very busy schedule. So if we don't respond immediately, please don't be disappointed. We'll try and get back to you as soon as we can, but please just reach out to us at the very best you can. Email is probably the very best. And we will try to respond to our constituents. We don't respond very well to pre-generated messages from someone that's out of state, or that we don't recognize, that they're from our district or even from the state of Idaho. But if it's a personal message, if it's personalized, not just a form letter, we will always try to respond at some point. We do send out weekly newsletters just so people are kind of up to date on what we're doing. And so we try hard to reach out to you, but you try hard to reach out to us as well.
Thank you so much, Representative Raymond, and we look forward to seeing what the legislature can accomplish in the rest of the session. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
You bet. Thank you.